When Daniel was 9 years old, his father brought home his first paycheck after being promoted. It wasn't a large amount, but his father held it like it was fragile, like it could disappear if he breathed too hard. He sat at the small dining table, unfolded the paper carefully, and sighed. Daniel didn't understand the numbers. He just noticed the silence. His mother leaned over his father's shoulder, scanning the paper. She nodded, not smiling, not frowning, just nodding. "Better than last year," she said. That sentence stuck with Daniel for reasons he wouldn't understand until decades later. Better than last year. Not free, not enough, just better than before. That was how money entered Daniel's life. Not as joy, not as possibility, but as relief. Daniel grew up in a neighborhood where people worked hard and spoke softly about money, as if saying too much might scare it away. Adults talked about bills the way farmers talk about weather. Unavoidable, unpredictable, and slightly hostile. Every morning, people left their homes at the same time. Every evening, they returned tired. No one ever asked, "Why is it like this?" They just said, "This is life." And so Daniel learned early that money was something you chased, never something you understood. At school, Daniel was good with numbers. Teachers praised him. "You'll get a good job one day," they said. That sounded like a promise. A good job meant stability. Stability meant safety. Safety meant success. Nobody ever explained what came after the good job. So Daniel didn't ask. Years passed. Daniel did everything right. He studied. He passed. He graduated. When he finally got hired, his parents were proud. His mother cried. His father shook his hand a little too hard. "You've made it," his father said. Daniel believed him. The first month, his salary felt magical. Numbers appeared in his bank account without him touching cash. He refreshed the app just to make sure it was real. This is it, he thought. This is how life begins. But then the numbers began to leave. Rent, transport, food, utilities. They left quietly, automatically, without emotion. By the end of the month, what remained was smaller than Daniel expected. But he told himself it was normal. Everyone said it was normal. Months turned into years. Daniel earned more, but somehow had less time. The days blended together. Wake up, commute, work, commute, sleep. Weekends disappeared into errands and recovery. He was tired, but not desperate. Comfortable, but not secure. And somewhere deep inside him, a quiet question began forming. Is this it? One evening, Daniel ran into an old classmate named Victor. Victor had been average in school. Not dumb, just uninterested. Teachers worried about him. But Victor looked different. Relaxed, unrushed, light. They sat at a cafe and talked about life. Daniel mentioned work. Victor listened politely. Then Victor mentioned he hadn't worked a job in years. Daniel laughed, assuming it was a joke. Victor didn't laugh back. "I own a few things," Victor said casually. "They pay me." Daniel waited for the punchline. It never came. That night, Daniel couldn't sleep. "They pay me." Nobody had ever said that sentence to him before. Money had always been something you chased with effort. Something that required constant motion. But Victor spoke as if money moved toward him. Daniel began paying attention. At work, he noticed something strange. The highest paid people were not the busiest. They didn't rush. They didn't panic. They didn't trade hours for pay. They made decisions. Others carried them out. Daniel asked questions. Quiet ones. How did you start? What should I invest in? What's the safest move? Most answers sounded the same. Just save. Don't take risks. Be patient. But patience felt like waiting on a train that never arrived. One day, Daniel's company announced restructuring. Nothing dramatic. Just a polite email. Calm words. Unfortunately, we regret to inform you. Daniel survived the cut. But something shifted. For the first time, he realized his life was held together by decisions he didn't make. And that terrified him. He started reading. Not motivational books. Not success stories. But boring things. Balance sheets. Business histories. Economic cycles. At first, none of it made sense. Then patterns appeared. Daniel noticed something unsettling. Money didn't reward effort. It rewarded ownership. The people who owned systems, businesses, assets, platforms were insulated. The people inside those systems were exposed. And most people never crossed that line. Daniel thought about his father. Decades of work, promotions, sacrifices, yet still careful with money, still anxious, still dependent on a paycheck. Not because his father failed, but because he never owned anything that worked without him. Daniel tried to explain this to friends. They didn't like it. It's risky. That's not realistic. Somebody has to do the work. They weren't wrong, but they weren't free either. As Daniel learned more, another truth emerged. Time mattered more than money. Those who understood the system started earlier, not because they were smarter, but because they were positioned differently. They made mistakes while young. They learned while protected. They failed without consequence. Daniel had none of that. Every mistake felt expensive. He noticed how debt worked. Poor people feared it. Wealthy people used it. The same tool, different outcomes. Debt for consumption trapped people. Debt for ownership multiplied them. But nobody explained the difference. Daniel also noticed inflation, not as a concept, but as a feeling. His savings grew, but his life didn't feel richer. Prices rose quietly. Money lost weight without changing shape. It was like holding ice in warm hands. Years passed. Daniel didn't become rich, but he became aware. And awareness changed everything. He stopped chasing quick wins. Stopped looking for shortcuts. He focused on leverage. Small systems. Long-time horizons. Boring consistency. The hardest part wasn't money. It was loneliness. Most people didn't want to talk about this. They preferred distractions. Comfort. Certainty. Understanding the system made Daniel feel like he was standing outside a room everyone else was trapped in, watching, unable to pull them out. One evening, Daniel visited his parents. His father was retired now, older, slower. They sat at the same table where Daniel once saw that first paycheck. His father smiled. "I did my best," he said. Daniel nodded. He knew it was true, and he also knew something else. The system had never given his father a chance. That night, Daniel realized something important. The system isn't evil. It's indifferent. It doesn't care who understands it and who doesn't, but it rewards those who do. Daniel didn't escape the system. He didn't beat it. He simply stopped being blind. And that changed how he moved through the world, how he chose, how he waited, how he built. Years later, a young man asked Daniel for advice. "What's the secret?" the young man asked. Daniel thought for a long time. Then he said, "Money doesn't change your life. It reveals who controls it." The young man didn't understand yet. Daniel smiled. Neither had he, because money doesn't announce how it works. It doesn't explain itself. It waits. And whether it becomes a cage or a key depends entirely on whether you ever learn the rules of the system nobody explains.